Call the meeting of the fiscal court to order. Welcome everybody this morning. We had one guest that was going to be here and then he had a conflict, so he's gonna try to come, Mr. O'Brien, at the July or August meeting. He's having to fill in on some contract work. In correspondence, we have a proclamation that we were asked to present to the court for your consideration. Whereas in appreciation of Kentucky's veterans who fought for our freedoms, and whereas placing emphasis, awareness, and value on veterans contributing to the work-ready communities in Western Kentucky. And whereas they are invited to attend the Kentucky Career Centers and West Kentucky Community and Technical College Vet Working Western Kentucky events the week of August 19th through the 23rd, 2013. Whereas they will be offered entrepreneurs, small business workshops, employment workshops, meet a multitude of veteran organizations, support agencies for the West Kentucky region, and therefore, I, Mike Miller, County Judge of Marshall County, proclaim the fourth week of August 2013 as Promote a Veteran Week, encouraging all employers to promote hiring, training, and supporting veterans to show how much they are appreciated. What's your pleasure?
Motion to approve the proclamation, Judge.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed, no. Motion carries. From the Texas Gas Transmission Corporation, I got this letter. It said Texas Gas Transmission LLC is proposing to remove from natural gas service one of its primary three mainline pipeline loop facilities from Hardinsburg, Kentucky to Eunice, Louisiana, including all auxiliary and associated facilities. This process is known as abandonment. Texas Gas is an interstate natural gas pipeline company that is regulated by the Federal Regulatory Energy Commission, a federal agency which oversees interstate pipelines. Texas Gas must seek FERC authority to abandon the pipeline loop. You are receiving this letter because Texas Gas has identified you as an individual, governmental entity, or organization who may have an interest in this project. Texas Gas will continue to provide natural gas service on its remaining mainline pipeline facilities between Hardinsburg, Kentucky to Eunice, Louisiana. Texas Gas will not terminate natural gas service to any customer as a result of this abandonment. Upon completion of the abandonment, the pipeline loop will be proposed for use in natural gas liquid transportation service. A general location map of the project is provided. Now, I didn't know what this meant for our plant here in Marshall County, there at Palma, because it had Calvert City there. So I called, and they said it will not interrupt our service at all. As a matter of fact, we may be able to add an employee. So apparently they're abandoning one line to use for liquid. Bob, do you know what they're talking about?
Well, not for sure, not with them, but that's, I guess, becoming more common. If there's a lot of natural gas liquids that are being produced up in the northeast in that area, and so they're trying to move that down to the Gulf. So I'm going to say that it's something like that, but I don't know anything about this project.
Yeah, okay. Well, anyway, when I talked to the manager there at Texas Gas, and because I was afraid they were going to shut our facility down, he said absolutely not. that maybe it could even be a good thing. From the Energy and Environmental Protection Cabinet, the Division of Waste Management has completed the review of your 2013-2014 Kentucky Pride Grant Fund application. Congratulations on your successful proposal. Attached is the 2013-14 agreement setting forth the grant conditions. Please review the agreement carefully as it contains details on how the grant funds will be expended. Your signature affirms your commitment to execute the project as approved. We request your cooperation with expediting the return of the grant agreement to us so we can distribute the grant funds as soon as possible. The agreement was our recycling grant that we had submitted for some items. It gives out all of the proposed work that will be done, things that would be bought. The amount is $13,382. Chairman Newton, I believe you and Wendy have already signed the agreement. Send it back in. Yeah.
It'll save us about $1,000
Yeah.
last year.
All right. Congratulations. From MediaCom, on or about July the 18th, 2013, MediaCom will be adding HSN. Everybody know what that means?
Home Shopping Network.
Shopping Network, Channel 523, to the digital broadcast channel lineup at no additional charge to MediaCom customers. That's from Lee Grassley. At our last meeting, we agreed to transfer the agreement that we had with the Jonathan Aurora Action Committee to the land there in Aurora that is used at the Sorghum House, and we have a picnic shelter there, and what have you. In the meantime, the Jonathan Aurora Action they had $16,000 in their account, so they split it between the Fiscal Court and the Marshall County Tourism Commission. Bonnie Kincaid, and I had Emily to contact Bonnie because this money was set aside for the use and help there at the Aurora Park. And Bonnie just sent this to give you an idea of what they would like to use the money for. We are planning outdoor theater nights to play movies on a big screen. It will be called Aurora's Lawn Chair Theater. We have a 10 by 12 screen, but we are desperately needing a projector to show our movies. This will be open to the entire community and hopefully to surrounding communities. With the local campgrounds being pretty full this year, we think it will be a great place for families to come and enjoy a free movie. Also, the Sorghum House that has been here for years is in great need of a new roof. We have carpenters that will donate their time, but we need materials. With the usage of the lot growing, we also feel that permanently mounted speakers on 3 of the light posts would be an asset. We are planning outdoor concerts and will be having a benefit concert the last of July for Haley Fuentes. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. These are some of the things that Bonnie has asked that we consider using that money for. How far that will go, but I think we would need a motion to allow the the Aurora Ross Fire Department Auxiliary to use up to $8,000 in their effort to improve the park.
I make that motion, Judge.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Emily, if you will stay in touch with Bonnie on that. Let's move into old business. You've received the minutes of the June 11th and the June 14 meeting of the fiscal court. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes of the meeting?
And none. Motion to approve the minutes,
I
Judge.
have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Any opposed, no. Motion carried. Next is the second reading. This is ordinance 2013-03. This is an ordinance relating to the annual budget and appropriations. Be it ordained by the Fiscal Court of Marshall County, Section 1. The following budget is adopted for fiscal year 2013-2014, and the amounts stated are appropriated for the proposed purposes indicated. This is the budget of Marshall County fiscal year ending June 30, 2014. Total general fund, $7,711,924. Road fund, $3,793,300. Jail fund, $2,153,500. Grant fund, health and sanitation, $150,000. 911 fund, $626,000. Occupational tax administrator fund, $960,202. Veterans van fund, $7,110. Total appropriation, $15,402,036. This ordinance shall be published in the Tribune Courier newspaper by title and summary within 30 days following adoption. This ordinance becomes effective upon passage and publication. All interested persons and organizations in Marshall County are hereby notified that a copy of the county's proposed budget in full is available for public inspection at the office of the county judge executive during normal business hours. This was approved by the Department for Local Government as to form and classification on the second day of May, 2013. What is your pleasure?
Motion to approve the budget, Judge.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion?
Judge, I think everybody ought to be commended. We've done, I think, really well in the last couple of years, a really bad economic time. We've been able to keep everybody working, and we've actually been able to increase the reserves then going into this next budget cycle, so been pretty well.
All right, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. The budget is adopted. We'll have to have Tim do a test there, I believe. At our last meeting, we had a gentleman to appear with a problem that we've had forever. I know, Squire Anderson, you've looked at it and sweated over it, talked to people about it on Birmingham subdivision. Jeff, you were gonna try to contact somebody.
Yes,
Were you able to make any contact?
I forwarded the concerns to Binky's, Binky LLC's counsel, but I haven't received a response.
I don't know if there's anything we can do until we try to get some cooperation. Evidently, that LLC owns the bulk of the property.
I think so.
So
That's what the people living there say, that he owns most of the properties. Kind of leaves us cuffed. It's just not ours.
I think all of us feel for those people that live there and the condition those roads are in. We did an emergency appropriation, 3 years ago, or
Yeah, therefore.
3 or 4 years ago. And we thought they were gonna step up and do some things, but that has not happened. So Jeff, just keep us informed.
Whatever response I get, I will forward to you as well, all of it.
All right. The judicial facility, I've talked with our circuit clerk. She's kind of taken the lead on, we're kind of in a quandary. The people we've hired don't really know. They've suggested we do some other things, and Carla is working on that.
Is that with the moisture
Yeah.
issue?
But they don't know if that's causing the odor or whether it's something else. And I told Carla that, we just want it solved. So she's doing everything she can do and talking with, can't think of his name, Melanie from AOC. He's called a couple of times and written, but him and Carla are working closely on this thing. So I'll just keep you informed as to what we're gonna do here, as best we can. Insurance credit, I think I told y'all at the last meeting, for whatever reason, the value on our property, particularly the judicial building, which was built for $8 million, all of a sudden the value was placed at $26 million. And I objected to that. I said, I don't know what's going on. Well, one of the things, they miscalculated our square footage. So they've given us a $9,000 credit back on that. I still, and I made this point at the Kentucky Association of Counties Board of Directors meeting last Thursday in Frankfurt, I asked who they use to value these properties. And it all comes back to, the tornado, when they were underinsured in Morgan County. I said, I'm understanding that. But you're telling me that replacement cost per square foot is $350 to $402 per square foot. My argument was that may be true in Jefferson, Northern Kentucky, Lexington. In talking with one of our most qualified contractors, in my judgment, here in West Kentucky, he said $165 to $170 a square foot is high end. So I asked him again, who did the valuations? And they really didn't. They said, AOC. I said, wait a minute. I've not had anybody from AOC tell me that I need to value my judicial building at $26 million. So N.E. Reed, the judge of Edmonson County, also on the board, and some other judges jumped in and said, look, you hit us with this big increase right here at the end. We didn't have time to shop. But believe me, if you don't get your pencil sharp, we're going to be shopping, every one of us, next year. Now, they went through all of the scenarios. And our director, Mr. Denny Nunley, finally took the floor and said, well, you know, we were told by the Department of Insurance that we had to raise rates. I said, okay, I understand that. I think we all do. But for 3 years, we had no increase. In fact, you were given rebates. And then all of a sudden, we get this huge increase, which ours was even lower than some in our area. Ours was 23%. Some of them were high as 30, 35%. So I think our point was well taken. I said, we're not mad at anybody. We're just concerned that if this trend continues, that, you know, we don't know if we can be able to afford to continue in some of the smaller counties in particular. So, just bring you up, that's where we are. We've made our point, I believe, and Judge Gallagher down in Fulton County, his big concern was they had just increased the value of some of his buildings out of sight. And he said, it's just not right. If you'll pay me that, you can come down here and take over the building. Anyway, all right, animal control ordinance, we've been talking about that. Jeff gave you a rough copy, but it's not ready. Is that correct, Jeff? You gotta meet with,
Well, we've been working, talking with the cities. I think they're currently, some of them are currently working on it. But I think we're at the point where we're gonna, it'll be necessary to just go ahead and finalize basically what we have and go forward.
well, is Calvert not gonna participate in this?
I don't think so.
So it'll be,
We just learned
y'all
that.
working on it, Marty?
Yeah, we've been going through this, and I had at least one meeting, and then we've circulated back and forth a number of suggestions and additions and changes we thought might need to be addressed, and I think we have what would be appropriate for the cities and the county as well, and have one ordinance. The only thing that I'm gonna suggest is that we may have to work on that a little bit. We think it ought to be, when it's enacted, it ought to be enacted so that it's applicable to every community, even Calvert City. And then have a provision in there that if they elect to opt out of it, that they would actually have to vote to, not to be covered under this ordinance. The reason for that is I would like for it to be uniform going in, so that if we're ever tested on it legally, I think we'd have a valid basis for us saying that this is a uniform ordinance applicable in all communities in the city, in cities in Marshall County. And then if you have a situation in Calvert City, they decide they don't want this type of ordinance, they don't want the lease law, then we've got it on the books that they've actually physically took a vote and said we don't want to be covered. And I think that takes us off the hook. The dog gets, if you have a bad dog down there that bites a lot of people or hurts somebody or done something, it's gonna be their problem and not ours. And I think that's, to me, is the most appropriate way to approach it. We've kind of touched base on that, and I think we've got the ordinance drafted with a few amendments to it so that you all could have it for probably a first reading with, maybe even next month. And then, these changes that we're talking about would be incorporated in that document. And then you all could have your first and second readings. I know the city of Benton is satisfied with it. We've discussed it with them. And I think that we would, once you all get yours in place, we'd just repeal our ordinance and fall under the counties. And then the lease law that we put in this one would be applicable to them. And I think it would work fine for everybody.
Marty, if the city of Calvert opts out, would our animal control officers still be required to provide services within their city
I
limits?
think that would be clearly stated in the ordinance.
Okay.
And the reason for that is that we can't, if they're not willing, you know, to participate and provide this, the coverage for those people in that community, they're gonna carve themselves out of it and just say that the city of Calvert City will not have any animal control at all.
That's why I was asking. They've always indicated that they wanted to have animal control, but it seemed like if they opted
Well,
out of the ordinance.
I
that
don't
would-
know what they did, but I've talked with Greg on more than one occasion, and he says they've got, I think they're kind of split on the
Okay.
council, but apparently the majority of them are not interested. They don't want to have the headaches from it. But I'm telling you, I don't know how they are over there, but we have more problems with that over here. We've got dogs that are running at large, and we'd be blessed to have y'all come in and help take care of our problem.
Greg told me Friday.
For a nominal
he
fee,
didn't think that they-
amicus, I believe we could do that.
Greg told me Friday that he didn't think that they would be interested in any kind of leash law.
I think that's fine as long as they understand up front, because I know my phone has rang many a time from Calvert City officials and from members of law enforcement and residents asking why we were saying that we weren't going to pick up in the city of Calvert, and I've come before the court, and everybody here has said, no, we're supposed to be doing that, so I hope they consider that if they opt out, that, I guess they would have to opt in to be able to get any services.
I think that if we do it like we're talking, Ms. Drew, I think that if we do it like we're talking about, then we'll know where they stand. They'll have to actually vote it out. If we
Okay.
can't have the conversation going back and forth,
Right.
I'm all for it and I'm not all for
Right.
it. It would actually, they'd have to physically vote and say, okay, we're excluding ourselves from this ordinance. Otherwise, it's gonna apply.
Okay.
All right. Any other old business?
Judge, I guess it's old business, we're talking about the flooding. Mr. Jones lives on Brazil School Road, and another situation that Russell and I looked at yesterday on the foul sled. Both complaints say that the county had altered the path of the water flow under the roadway and put more water on their side, on their property, as it caused driveways to culverts to wash out. Russell and I looked at one yesterday, and the culvert's really small in that ditch. It's like, what is it, Russ, 15 or 18, and it's a big, it's a creek almost coming. There's no way.
You're talking about our culvert. Our
Yeah,
culvert,
it's
not
on-
the
it's on
driveway
us.
culvert, our culvert.
Well, no, it's the driveway culvert, but it's on the county right of way. Generally, they pay for the culvert and we cover it.
Right, right.
But it's just small, and it's like a creek. It's like almost, waist deep or more. And there's no way it's gonna hold that under just moderate rainfall. And I think Russ says he's replaced the gravel in those a number of times. And the one, Mr. Jones has the same issue, but now his culvert is in the little creek. It's not on the county right of way. But he says that the county caused that problem when they diverted the water through, under the road to his side. And so that's his complaint. So I didn't know what we want to do about that. One's off the road, and Russ and I talked about this. We don't know if these people on foul sled can afford a culvert or not. But we're going down there every little bit, Russ says, and dumping loads of white rock and rebuilding that. So I guess the lesser of the two evils is, do we want to replace the culvert, make an exception and put the culvert in there to stop us and our manpower and materials to be placed in there, knowing it's going to be washed away in the next rain? So what do we want to do? In both cases, Mr. Jones says that the county has fixed his in the past at times, and it's washed out badly. But his complaint is that the county caused it. It never did that. He said that we sent the water over on his side of the road. So I didn't know what the court would want to do about situations like that. The Jones is not on the right of way, but the foul sled is, but they normally would be responsible for the culverts. But Russ, I think, in talking to some of them, I don't know that they can even afford to buy the culvert. But the next rain, though, if he just put gravel on those, the next time it rains, we're gonna be back down there putting another load of gravel on. So it's just up to what we wanna do.
If the driveway was put in, and, it was years ago, and it's just not big enough, it's not
Right.
damaged, they have to buy it if it's damaged, but if it's
Right.
just not large enough, it looks like to me, it might be our responsibility.
I think Russ talked like he could fix it to where that we would not be down there every time it comes a shower.
With a
replacing
bigger-
it
with a bigger
bigger
culvert.
sewer. I don't know if we have any used ones we'd consider placing in there or not, or what we'd wanna do about that, but
Do you, Russ?
We kept 2 or 3 of them, we surplused off, that's, could possibly work. I believe that'd be long enough.
Mr. Attorney, what's our legal ramifications here? I'm like Terry, I mean, it's silly to just keep taking gravel and taking gravel if this is a problem that we have caused.
Right, I think if the county created the problem, you can remedy it.
Well,
To protect Terry or this court, should we declare an emergency on these two situations and allow Russell and the road department to rectify those situations?
Yeah, I don't think you necessarily have to declare an emergency, but I think you can do the repairs. If it's, in fact, you know, if you feel comfortable that it's something that the county created.
well, it's, Russ and I looked at it, and Russ agrees it's gonna be cheaper on the county taxpayer to fix it than in place of going down Band-Aiding it every week. So if we can do that, if Russell has a used sewer, then I'd make the motion that we place those used sewers in there and take those old ones, the smaller ones out, and fix that to keep us from having to work on it every time it rains.
All right, you heard the motion. Is there a second?
Second,
Motion and second. Any discussion?
do you have enough, I mean, of the used sewers, you think, to do it? I
We
mean,
got enough to take care of that on Foust Sled. I haven't seen the one on, Brazil School Road.
We can look at it, it's the same complaint. We sent the water under the road to that side, and he says since that happened, his driveway washes away. So, Russ and I could look at that and report back to the court.
Okay.
If you wanna do that.
All right, that's fine. I mean, you've seen it.
Well, I think, my motion would be then we fix the one on Foust Sled, and Russ and I will go look at the one on
And report
Brazil School
back.
Road and report back to the court on that one, and see what we think we might do to fix that.
All right. Would
Because
you
it's-
amend the motion, Bob, would you amend your second to reflect what Terry just said?
yeah, I second his.
I'm not gonna ask you to
Amend
make
the
it again, Terry.
Okay.
All in favor of the motion, say aye. Any opposed, no. Motion carries.
One more thing, Judge.
Okay.
A lady on Tucker Road, Russ and I looked at this one. If you recall, I think you've been down there, they straightened the road out. There's a little nook in there. It breaks off to the left, crosses a creek at an old home place. The sewer washed out of that. It's completely gone. It's like 12 feet deep. A lady that lives there wants that put back, and I don't understand that. All you have to do is go straight now instead of covering up. She says the mail carrier uses that, and some other people, but I don't. That's gonna be a great deal of expense. Have you looked at it?
No,
Seen
sir,
it?
I hadn't been told about that one.
Well, Russ, you looked at it, didn't you, Russ? I thought she may have called you, but I don't know that that's feasible. Maybe,
I'd be glad to go with you, Terry. and look
we
at
may
it.
wanna look at it and see. I don't know that that's something we'd need to do.
That's on Tucker Road?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Off
Before-
of, off of Scale Road.
Before we
Okay, yeah.
straighten the road out, put bridge in.
Yeah.
And we just left that other open too.
She's wanting that replaced, and I told her I just didn't think we were gonna do that. But she hasn't called you yet.
No, sir.
Okay. We'll look at it.
Well, yeah, I'd be glad to. Any other old business?
Judge, Kirby Branson and Kentucky League of Cities came by my office yesterday and wanted to let us know, we participate with Kentucky League of Cities with their online education courses that we offer to the employees, that mainly we use it for our drug-free workplace certification. And I believe you all have done this before, but, there's also a huge variety of other educational courses on there, back safety, sexual harassment, there's wastewater certification courses, and then there's some hazardous, chemical and things like that. And Kirby was telling me that, they are changing hazardous communications, they're relabeling, universally labeling hazardous materials and things, and he thought that this might be something that our volunteer fire departments and rescue squads and our emergency personnel might be interested in taking this, even though they're not employed employees. I believe we have offered that to them before, to use some of our credits for that. I just wanted to get your opinion if that's still allowable for this, since it's.
What does it cost?
We've already purchased the credits. We purchase those annually. We purchased about 100 credits, more than we absolutely have to have, just to offer to employees that if Russell directed that his employees need to take driver safety courses or something like that we just have some available. And have to double check exactly how many we have available, but I'm sure we have enough that we could offer this to the fire departments. And he said that they could do it in a classroom setting where we could, one person could direct the course, kind of just where you basically just flip through the slide. The course is self-sufficient where it will direct itself, and then there's a test at the end to make sure that you pass and get certified for that training. But he thought that we can do that in a classroom setting rather than having to log everybody into their own computer and do it at home, but that the fire departments, if they wanted, they could do it at the station and then just let us know how many attended it, have a sign-in sheet, and then we could email that to KLC, and then they could deduct that many credits from our account. Roughly, it's $10. It's a little less because we buy more credits, but I think less, if you have less than 200 credits, it's $10 a credit, so.
Now, Russell, I know you send a lot of your guys through the Kentucky Transportation Center to like pesticide, things like that. I mean, so this is mainly for rescue squad, fire departments.
Well, just that's who we felt like the hazardous communication, and the
Yeah.
department may be interested in it too. That's definitely not my expertise, but.
Well, we send
yeah,
our guys to a
there's-
lot of trainings. I didn't know if that,
And there may be some on.
I don't have a
this
problem with it if y'all think this would be worthwhile.
Well, I think it'd be good.
Sure can't hurt
Any
it.
kind of, education on that would probably be good.
Do you need a motion?
I don't think so. I just wanted to double check with
Okay.
you all that it was all right for them to participate.
All right.
Judge, before you move on, I think this may fall under old business too, I don't know. Just want to inform the court, we are having a board meeting tomorrow morning, Penn Narcotics Task Force. We did get our award back on our funding, and it's $175,000 short of what we operated on last year. So just wanted the court to be aware of that, because the court definitely has a vested interest in it because of the financial obligation, and it's also an investment, to my office as well, because a portion of a, officer's salary is paid out of that. Don't know where it's gonna go at this point. That's why we're meeting tomorrow, but, that was a pretty big blow to us. $175,000 is a lot to make up.
Sure. And Chairman Newman, is he out of the hospital yet?
I don't know. I
They
don't know
have
if
to
he is
take
or
him
not.
to Nashville.
Mhm.
Judge Newman is the chairman?
Yes, sir. Mhm.
Chairman. And, so, well, why don't you just report back to us at the next meeting, Calvin, what you think we need to do and where we need to go.
Right.
After consulting with the other sheriffs.
Yeah, like I said, I have no idea where this discussion is gonna take us, because like I said, that's a pretty big chunk to try to make
Absolutely.
up, and, as usual, I always say, try to, everybody talk to all their elected officials in Washington, because that's where the funding comes from,
Sure.
to see what we can do. I don't know if it's anything we can do at this point, but, like I said, that was a pretty big blow to us.
Okay. All right, any other old business? Let's move into new business. Before we start a new business, I got a call yesterday from Commissioner Comer's office, and y'all may have got the same call. They're having a meeting in Trade County at the Renaissance Center at 9 o'clock. That's behind the Trigg County Judicial Building, in regard to mosquito control. Now, I don't know, and they did not say, if they have worked out an arrangement whereby we can get a spray plane. I'm not sure. We did send our letters as y'all instructed. I got in touch with the other county judges. They did the same. I think they've invited the fiscal courts of Marshall, Callaway, Trigg, and Lyon. I don't know why Livingston was not included, since the Cumberland, the Tennessee, and the Ohio. I'm not sure, but anyway, that is our court day. Now, that's next Tuesday, and having the meeting today, what I was gonna ask, do y'all want to just have one meeting in July the 16th so you can attend this meeting? I'll do whatever y'all wanna do.
What date is the convention on, Judge?
Starting the afternoon of the 17th.
Because I know sometimes you leave a little early, is that?
Yeah,
gonna-
that'll be fine. with
Okay,
me.
so
I
16th
don't
is
have a
good.
problem with that. If that's okay with y'all now.
That works for me.
But I'll be,
It's okay.
if any of you wanna ride with me, I've got my van, and I'm gonna leave about, I'm gonna say about 8:15, try to get to Katy. That's a pretty good little drive to get over there. But the commissioner himself is gonna be there, and what news he's got, I don't know, but I know he's been in contact, according to Vincent now, the guy I talked to yesterday, has been in contact with the governor's office, and they're trying to work something out. So hopefully they'll have an announcement, but I don't know what it might be. So what's y'all's pleasure on
Mike,
that? Yeah.
you have a large mosquito problem out around the lakes.
Oh, yeah.
Around the area, be careful.
Yeah, and like I told the fellow on the phone and the newspaper reporter yesterday from Channel 6, Paducah Sun, I said, the Agriculture Department's doing the very best they can with the ground faulters, but unfortunately, they just can't get everywhere where a spray plane would get. But I know it's very expensive, and they sold the spray planes to the Department of Agriculture several years ago. So they'll have to contract, and I'm sure that's expensive. We got a special appropriation during the flood. They did some spraying, from the planes. So, what do y'all want to do?
Works for me, 16th.
That's fine.
16th's fine for me.
All right? We'll meet on the 16th of July. No objection. All right. We've been talking about a building code. The state is pretty much mandated that we adopt this building code. Wendy and Kat and others, Josh and others have been looking at this thing. So we have a building code ordinance. This is ordinance number 21306. An ordinance relating to the adoption of the Uniform Statewide Building Code as promulgated in 815 KAR 7120 and 815 KAR 7125 by the Board of Housing, Buildings, and Construction of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Be it ordained by the Fiscal Court of Marshall County, Commonwealth of Kentucky as follows. Whereas KRS 198B-060, Section 1 requires that all buildings constructed in Marshall County shall be built in compliance with the Uniform State Building Code as adopted by the Board of Housing, Buildings, and Construction. Whereas KRS 198B-060, Section 1 authorizes any city, county, or urban county government to require by ordinance permits, inspections, and certificates of occupancy for single-family dwellings. Whereas KRS 189B-060, Section 11 requires the local government to employ or contract for or with electrical inspection services. Whereas KRS 198B-060, Section 18 requires each local government to establish a schedule of fees which are designed to cover the cost of the service performed, but not to exceed it. Now therefore be it ordained by the Fiscal Court of Marshall County, Commonwealth of Kentucky, Section 1, adoption of the building code, that the Kentucky Building Code promulgated in 815 KAR 7120 and the Kentucky Residential Code promulgated in 815 KAR 7125 by the Board of Housing, Buildings, and Construction, Commonwealth of Kentucky, are hereby adopted in full as an ordinance of Marshall County of the Commonwealth of Kentucky as it sets out at length herein. That a copy of said building code is on file in the office of the Marshall County Clerk, and the clerk shall at all times keep a copy of said building code for reference. That an attested copy of this ordinance be transmitted to the Office of Housing, Buildings, Construction of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Designated enforcement officer. That an enforcement officer shall be designated as the local enforcement agent or agency for said building code. All building code inspection must be performed by persons certified by the Kentucky Office of Housing, Buildings, and Construction. All electrical inspection shall be performed by a state certified electrical inspector specifically approved by this jurisdiction. Section 3, building inspection program. That pursuant to KRS 198B 060 Section 8, a building inspection program is hereby established in Marshall County, Kentucky for application to all buildings. Local jurisdictions may adopt by ordinance detached single-family dwellings as provided in the adopted codes. Section 4, permits and fees. That the fees for permits and inspections shall be as provided for in the attached schedule. Section 5, inconsistent ordinances repealed. That all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith are, to the extent of such conflict, hereby repealed. Section 6, effective date. This resolution shall take effect and be in full force when passed, published, and recorded according to law. The foregoing will be published, it has not been published yet, right, Wendy? In the Tribune Courier. The statement, and we have a statement of fees. Did y'all all get a copy of this in your?
Don't have the fees.
Yeah, I sent them all. Once it was drafted, I sent them all a copy of the ordinance. It did not include the fees at that time. But I got the fees from the treasurer's office.
Wendy, you want to go over that real quick with the fee schedule? And this is like 8 cents per square foot up to a point, and then
Currently, it's 8 cents per square foot. We do commercial 8 cents per square foot for the first 5,000 feet. And then 5,001 feet and above is 6 cents per square foot.
okay.
On commercial properties, and I believe that's the way the city of Benton does it as well, right? And then the city of Benton also charges that inspector, he will charge an hourly fee upon the 3 inspections that he has to do at each home. So, you know, I don't know if we need to, because Kat's not going to be doing the residential inspections. He'll do the electrical like he's always done, but he does not want to do the residential home inspection. So I've already gotten a few emails today of different people who are interested in the position, but we really need to sit down and see what it will cost the inspector to go out. I don't want it to be a burden on homeowners. I don't want it to be another $500 or $600, you know, to build a garage or anything like that. So it may be where we need to kind of sit down and figure out an exact fee schedule before the second reading of this.
But this is something that we really don't have a
We have no
option.
choice.
We have to pass it.
Right, and
And
we've
this
got,
is just the first reading today, but, and I've asked Wendy and Kat, because I'm really not knowledgeable in this, if they would interview or talk with the people that show an interest, to make a recommendation to us, because to be honest with you, I don't know what really they're looking for. The Cat's always done the electrical, but he don't want to do the structural. Is that correct?
right, the new inspector will have to do 3 inspections, foundation, we'll do an initial inspection of the foundation, installation, and then a final inspection. So he'll have to go to that residence at least 3 times.
Is that what y'all do now, Marty?
Yeah, and I think there's really only 3 critical inspections. One is the foundation, then right before they put it on the roof, and then the electrical inspections are done by the electric system, so.
Yeah, and Cat
And I
does
think
ours out in the county.
And the rural ones are, ones y'all are probably gonna find are gonna be started and being done by the cooperatives. They're gonna inspect their own properties before it's started.
Really?
Yeah.
Like RECC and Jackson Purchase?
They wanna see them before they approve them, so provide service.
Okay.
I mean, the state notified us in October, and we've been battling with the state since then to not have to do this, but they pulled our certification. It's going to expire if we don't do this, and we can't do any, we want to be able to do the projects we have going, so,
The
it's one of
state will
those-
have to furnish an inspector.
The state would have to furnish the inspector, and then you're looking at 6 to 8 week turnaround instead of 5 days like we currently do.
Well, they're, yeah, holding us over a barrel. I understand all that. My concern, I guess, is that it keeps going back to all buildings. I mean, garages, are people gonna have to get this done for a barn?
Barns, garages, homes, anything you build on
Afraid
a
that-
property will have to be
Initially, it
inspected.
wasn't that way, was it?
I didn't think so.
Initially, when we talked about it, was external structures weren't included, right? Wasn't that what they told us initially, because we were
Well,
thinking
that's
detached?
the question we asked.
Right, we
Remember?
asked that.
And every time you talk to someone in that office, you get a different answer.
That's what we found.
Is what has happened. There's 2 new directors there. One of the directors even told Kat we didn't have to do this at all, and then we got the letter May 31st that said we were expired and we had to do it. So, it's been the runaround, and we've worked on it for a long period of time, but at this point, it's something we have to do.
What's the point of contact for that if someone's going to build their structure? They'll go through your office, or will it be Andy's, or?
Well,
I
I've
don't know
been,
yet, no guess.
Tony and I've been talking with PVA, and they currently can help assist us too in some capacity, I believe.
Yeah, I think between the GIS and the PBA office, we have a lot of these systems already in place.
Right.
Obviously, it's not required that they submit building plans or anything, kind of like what'll happen when the ordinance is adopted. But the GIS and the PBA office would be more than happy to help the county out with a lot of the, at least administrative overhead. Like I said, it's data that we store pretty much already anyway, at least as far as footprints and sketches, and then like you said, addresses that have to be got from the county coming through the GIS office. So
Okay.
a lot of it's already in place that we can easily modify to take this into consideration.
So we've got some figuring to do.
Well, if you read the code, the Kentucky Building Code, it goes into all the things that you have to do, and then there's a paragraph there that exempts single-family and two-family dwellings. And then now they want us to adopt to something that takes those in. My hopes were, even though I didn't want to do it, but if we had to do it, it was only for the dwellings and not for buildings, just outside buildings. Is there any way, do we see any way that we can create our ordinance to just be to include those dwellings that are exempt from the state?
In my research and in discussions where I've had with them, it's kind of an all or nothing thing.
And that's my understanding as well. And not all counties do this because they don't have expanded jurisdiction, but all the other counties don't have industrial parks that they inspect either.
Understand.
So, we just really have no other alternative, I'm afraid.
So to kind of spell it out for people, because we've been talking about this for so long, basically, if we lose our expanded jurisdiction, we lose our ability to handle all of those inspections in-house, which some of our expansions, especially in the Calvert City area, the industrial parks.
It would, yes, it'd
Those
be the
inspections
industrial
are
parks
critical.
and anything
Right.
that holds more than 100 people. So, like even the Arts Commission building, that would be completely taken out of mine and Cat's jurisdiction. We'd have to stop the project now, send it to the state, and then the state would have to finish it.
Which they told us there was about a 6-month delay when they were
Right.
here. Is that still?
At least. I know of some, like nursing homes and hospitals still have to use the state. Those are the only things we don't inspect currently. But, you know, they might get a response within 6 to 8 weeks, and then whomever from Frankfurt wants to have a bunch of projects going in this area before they come down and do any inspections. They won't come down just for one inspection. So, that's the problem with it.
Any other questions?
As a realtor, I have a question, of course. Is this going to affect subsequent transfers of property too, that may have not been inspected initially?
I don't think so. I think it would be all new
I think
construction.
it's just new construction. I don't believe, I don't know why it would, Sandra. I mean, that seems really going to the extreme.
It's scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But check that out to make sure.
I will, but it's my understanding new construction.
Any other questions? I would ask for your approval on the first reading of ordinance number 2013-06.
Before we make a motion to approve, would it be possible to have them come back down again since they've gone back and forth before we approve the second time? That way if people in the community have concerns, they can be here and ask those questions. I mean, even some of the things that they came here and sat on that bench and told us have changed. So would it be possible before we just pass this that we absolutely know the answers to those questions, including like the one that Sandy just asked, and any other ones that people might ask of us from the time from now till the next, I guess, mid-July meeting we have?
I can ask Jim Bozeman was the.
Right, right.
That first meeting.
And they had new directors coming in, and there were some differences of opinion, maybe just so that we have a good knowledge of what it is that we're committing to.
Yeah, and I don't mind it.
Would you all have a problem with that?
Yeah, are we gonna
What's
shut
our-
down, are we
what's
gonna
our-
shut down any of our construction work
What's
that
our
we're doing
time
now?
frame? That's what I want to know.
Well, right now, according to the letter I got and the one I suggest, we are expired now. Like, we have no jurisdiction at this point.
We have to do 2 readings though, right?
Right.
I mean, so it has to be at least delayed till the 16th.
Right.
I guess that's what I'm asking, can someone come?
The larger products are proceeding with the hope that
This will
passes,
happen, right.
rather than them get to a certain point and have to stop.
And if we have to pass it, we have to pass it. I just want to make sure that when someone asks me a question, I'm not giving them misinformation or telling them something we were told and then that being incorrect. Or
I've currently got plans in my office that we're not inspecting because we don't have the jurisdiction to do it as of right now.
Mhm.
So, we don't want any projects to get started and then be backtracked.
Mhm.
I know there's one project in particular that has a 13-week deadline and, from start to finish, but the plans are still in my office because we can't touch them. So,
So maybe, I mean, I guess we'll do what we have to do, but if it's possible, maybe for him to come in before, maybe at our next meeting or something, maybe we could at least have an opportunity before we just pass it to ask those questions. If you can.
I will email him as soon as I get out of here and see if he can come down there. Even if he'd be willing to do a phone conference or something.
Anything, yeah. Okay.
Which, should we pass the first
First
reading
reading.
with the
So.
caveat that we have other questions and
Yeah.
ask that someone from the Department of Building and Housing's come down and meet with us?
I think so. I think we
We
have
do
to
that?
keep it moving, but
Yeah, that's.
that would be my motion, that we go ahead and pass it today. As Judge said, with the caveat that hopefully someone can come down and just answer some of those remaining questions before we finalize it.
All right, you've heard the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. We'll have to publish this.
That one hurt. I know. I hate it.
Extortion.
It is.
Contract attorney, Jeff?
I have forwarded each of you the responses I received in my inquiry last week. I had hoped that the initial phone calls I made would take care of the problem, part of the problem, in that I would make sure, confirm that the individuals were interested. Each of the three that I contacted did indicate they were interested. However, when I got the responses back, only one is actually willing to do it. And that's the gentleman from Hopkinsville.
Mm-hmm.
Where? He's from Hopkinsville, Jason Holland from Hopkinsville. So, at this point, you can, you can proceed, and that with, and we'll go ahead and get him online, or I can continue to contact others if there are additional interest.
Yes,
Jeff?
I'd like to speak to the court with regard to this matter, if I could, please. I've been retained by Mike to represent him in this matter, and then in the process, I think there must be a more complete vetting of the people that you're intending to engage. And I'd like to at least be made aware of their credentials and their, and some of the background before, you know, I want to make sure that whoever that you do designate for this purpose is someone who has absolutely no axe to grind, no interest in this matter, hadn't been previously contacted by any member of this court, and that we're getting somebody that will do a complete and thorough job without any undue prejudice to my
I've
client.
been assured that is the case, but I'll be happy to share anything, whatever
As I
information.
said, I have no idea what kind of vetting process you went through to get to the names that you selected, but I'd like to.
I personally came up with them
Okay.
from, you know, trying to get someone I knew that I was familiar with their backgrounds, and somewhat familiar with their practice, and I mean, these are not individuals that I practice with or against necessarily, just in the different areas I'm familiar with their reputations, and I felt that's the reason I went ahead and contacted them myself.
Did you share that with anybody, the vetting process that you were going through with anyone?
No, I did not. Well, I simply made the court aware of, and sent them a copy of, once I had contacted these individuals, to just determine if they were interested. I did forward a copy of my inquiry and what I'd asked that person to respond to. And that's the only document that was created or contact made.
But I'd like the opportunity to look at that. Obviously, it's in our interest to get someone who's completely unassociated with any of the people that are here, has no background information that's been supplied to them, no contacts previously made. I know that, Ms. Drew said that she did contact Mr. Bishop, and I think it's totally inappropriate for any member of this court to be contacting anybody that's in the process of being considered for this purpose.
Jeff, we have a motion, a second on the table from the last meeting, needs to be addressed, I think, before we move forward.
Well, I think your motion passed last time.
No, it didn't.
It didn't?
No. Never was addressed, never voted on it.
Okay. I mean, I think you're at this point that if it's up to, you know, you can either proceed with that individual, or, like I say, I feel comfortable that with this process and with the person that has responded, but that ultimately rests with you.
But we still have a motion and a second on the floor from the last meeting that has not been addressed. It has to be addressed.
I had made a motion to hire specific counsel, but I don't mind to withdraw that. I would like for Mr. Willen to still be considered. I couldn't remember his name, but he was the Hopkinsville attorney that we had discussed in taking up the refuse matter. I don't know him, haven't spoken with him about this matter, but it is a firm that I've heard to be reputable. So I would at least ask that their firm still be, he is the city attorney for Hopkinsville.
What was his name again, please?
Doug Willen. He's the city attorney for Hopkinsville.
Well, Jeff, I would make the motion then, if we're wanting to get someone that's, no one knows, I haven't spoken to this individual, I don't think anyone at the table probably knows him, maybe you or Marty. His name is Kent Wicker.
What's his name?
Kent Wicker. He's from Reed and Wicker firm in Louisville. He was previously a prosecutor and a U.S. assistant attorney, and he has a great deal of experience in these kind of issues, and I think no one here knows him, and I have not spoken to him. And I make the motion that we retain him. And if he can't do the job, then we maybe fall back on what is this other person's name? Bob
Kent
Willing?
Wicker?
Bob Willing? Is that the guy from Hopkinsville?
Doug Willen,
Doug
Willen
Willen.
and Foster.
Mr. Wicker would certainly, I looked him, I found him on the internet, and I think he would, from his, looked at his credentials, I think he's exactly what we're looking for.
Do you mind if I ask what credentials? I mean, what do you feel?
Well, he's a courtroom attorney. He has a great deal of experience, according to his website, in dealing with these kinds of matters. And I think none of us knows him.
I think that'd be the purpose of it. If you want to consider him, put him in the pot, name consider.
I made a motion, we hire him.
If for some reason this person isn't able to, do we have, I mean, I would ask that Doug be considered, his firm, or unless you have somebody that you'd ask be considered.
This guy may say no, I don't have a clue, but
We have a
Make a
cost
motion,
associated with this, and we actually have a bid from, a dollar amount from the gentleman that,
no, we don't.
we have a dollar amount from the gentleman that.
We don't have to have a bid.
No, I don't mean that. I said we have an amount from the gentleman that,
This guy may
that
be
Jeff
cheaper.
has.
This
that
guy may be
Jeff
cheaper
has,
than him.
Contacted.
He could
This
be the
just gives
cheapest
us
of
an
the two.
idea, but otherwise, we're signing a blank check if we just hire someone.
We don't have to take him if he's too high. We need to contact him. I just made a motion to hire him, that's right. That's what we all just said, we want someone that none of us knows.
So if we hire.
Okay, I'll amend my motion. I make a motion that we hire him, pending his, we'll contact him and see what his fees are, and if he's willing to do the job, if he is, I'll make the motion to hire him.
And then if this person's too expensive, we have an option to not pay those fees? Are you saying that we would see what his fee rate is?
I guess we could see what his fee rate is, and then we could discuss that if he's outrageous, but I can't imagine.
See, like, well, I'm not telling you how to run your business, but it looks like you should solicit proposals and review those proposals and select one after you've properly vetted them to be sure there's no conflict.
Well, Marty, I don't mean to disagree with you, but I made a motion during my last meeting, and the judge, who is the focus of this, changed my motion. So I think if we were gonna talk about conflict of interest, that would probably be one. And you see what I'm saying? I think that we're trying to handle this as a court and have been discreetly for some time, but now that it's out in front of everyone, we have to talk candidly. And candidly, I'm just telling you that I made a motion as a court member, and it was changed by the person that's kind of the focus of it. And so because of that, I'm interested in moving forward so we can get this behind us. It's been very divisive. Now everybody's hiring counsel, and it's becoming something that I know I hoped it didn't become. So I'll second the motion. I'm ready for this to move on. I want to hire counsel and get it behind us. I second the motion.
I mean, obviously, you all, it's your decision, but when these names that I submitted were, I tried to make sure that there had been, they fit the bill.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think that the one that has responded doesn't, I mean, If he doesn't, then it's not, I'm not aware of that. If someone knows him or something like that, I know him through practicing in federal court, former prosecutor, but, I mean, I don't have any reason to propose him over anybody else. That was just, out of the three I came up with that quickly and got confirmations, that's the response I got.
Jeff, do you mind repeating his name again? I didn't catch it.
Jason Holland?
Holland? Okay.
Terry, you want to repeat your motion? I mean, you made a motion.
Okay, I make the motion that we contact Kent Wickers from Reed and Wickers in Louisville, law firm, and ask him will he consider this job and give us a quote.
Wickers, Terry.
Yeah, Wickers.
All right. You heard the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Any opposed, no?
No.
Guess I stay out of it.
At this point, you're still entitled to vote. I think since it affects you personally and the accusations made against you personally, I think I would abstain. In doing so, you vote with the majority, and we'll have to note in the record that abstention was by advice of counsel.
Abstain. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no?
No.
Motion carried. Okay. Membership agreement, Keiko Workers' Comp Fund. They have sent this for us to, it's the standard application for membership agreement with the Kentucky Association of Counties, Workers' Comp Fund. They said they needed this by the 1st of July. Do I hear a motion that we accept the application agreement with the Kentucky Association of Counties Workman's Comp Fund?
Make a motion, Judge.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no.
That's what we budgeted for, isn't it?
Right. Motion carried. Okay, it's time for our Fire Protection District Boards. Let's start with Aurora Ross. Ricky Searles, reappointed by the firefighters, and Jerome Ragsdale, who is our appointment and is asked to be reappointed. What's your pleasure?
Make a motion to approve that appointment.
Second.
I have a motion and second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. From the East Marshall Fire Protection District, Mr. Ed Loeb, elected by the landowners. Carl E. Boyd, appointment B for the Fiscal Court. What's your pleasure?
Motion approved.
Motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. From the Fair Dealing Olive Fire Protection District, Henry Rogowski, reelected by the firefighters. Ricky Nemo from the landowners, and Bonita Walker is appointment A of the Fiscal Court. What is your pleasure?
Motion to approve that appointment.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Gilbertsville, Glenn Hatfield, representing the firefighters. Curtis Wells, representing the landowners. Jimmy Newton, appointment B of the fiscal court. What's your pleasure?
Motion approved, Judge.
A motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. From the Hardin South Marshall Fire Protection District, an election was held June 22nd for the Board of Trustees for the South Marshall Fire Protection District. Board Chairman Kenny Jones was present to count the ballots. Mike Alexander was elected to represent the firefighters. Kenny Jones representing appointment A from the fiscal court. What's your pleasure?
Motion approved.
Have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Any opposed, no. Motion carries. From the Alma Bryansburg District, Darrell Howell was elected to represent the firefighters. Donald Kirby, appointment A from the fiscal court.
Motion approved.
Have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Possum Trot Sharp, Fire Protection District. Bobby Lee Sullivan, representing the firefighters. Terry Strict, appointment B of the fiscal court.
Motion approved.
Have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Now, we don't have anybody up for this one, right? Well, the West Marshall and Harvey Brewers, of course, combined, their board members are Butch Wyman, will expire 6/30/14. Anthony Sled, 6/30/16, representing firefighters. Audria Henson, representing landowners, 6/30/15. Gary Teckenbrock, representing landowners, 6/30/2017. Johnny Hamlet, appointment A, fiscal court, 6/30/2014. Amanda Holly, 6/30/2015. And Rhonda Henson, appointment C, 6/30/16. All right, does that cover all of our, all right. Intra-fund transfers.
I'm asking for approval to transfer from the occupational tax administrator $10,000 to the jail fund and $125,000 to the road fund. Those are only if I don't receive additional funds by this Friday, the end of this fiscal year, to get us up to the anticipated carryover amount for next fiscal year. However, I will need to transfer $150,000 from occupational tax administrator to general fund.
You've heard the request for the inter-fund transfers. Do I hear a motion?
Motion. Motion approved.
A motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Next, the budget appropriation transfers. This is end of the year transfers, right?
Yes, sir. It is, this, everyone, there was only one place that I had to get into reserves. Everyone else was able to stay within their budgets. Animal control fuel, did need $307.12 to come from reserves. So I think our departments need to be congratulated within staying within budget. This is a big deal to me that, everybody has done an exceptional job staying within and trying to keep up with where they were and make it last throughout the year. So everything is covered from within everyone's budget, except for that one small expense.
All right, you've heard the request of the budget appropriation transfers. What's your pleasure?
Motion approved, Judge.
Motion to approve, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a
Okay.
second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Anything else on it? You've had an opportunity to review the bills. Do I hear a motion to pay the bills?
Motion to pay the bills, Judge.
The motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Any other business come before the court?
Judge, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, unrelated, I guess, but I want to tell everyone, there's a gentleman at our facility that passed away. I guess it was last week. They believe that it was from either a tick bite or handling a tick, and it had nothing to do with Lyme disease or Rocky Mountain spotted fever, what we always hear about. It was another completely different infection from a bacteria that's on these ticks. You can get it by just touching them. And just everybody needs to be aware. He ended up with flu-like symptoms after a couple of days, and then within about 3 more days, his organs shut down and he passed away, 57 years old, same age I am.
There,
So,
Wesley.
our accounting manager, really just a very nice gentleman. So just everybody be aware of that. It's just something that's bothered me.
And there's a lot of ticks out there this year.
They're covering everybody up. It's amazing.
Judge, I had one small thing. Dennis couldn't be here today from animal control, but he had a concern, and now that I kind of think about it, it's a legitimate one. The back of that truck, Kevin, that you all gave them, has no venting. So in the summertime, it's basically like putting an animal in an oven. And he was afraid that since you could get in trouble for having your car or your animal in a car in the parking lot at Walmart, you could probably get in trouble for putting an animal in a oven like that. So he wanted to know to make sure that we were doing what we needed to do legally. Could we vent that somehow?
You know, so we couldn't.
How would they go about doing that? Is that, I mean, I'm assuming that's something they need to do. There's no
Yeah.
ventilation in that.
It could probably be hooked up like our canine unit is, because it's got a ventilation system in it, to where it could run off the power of the vehicle itself, to where it could suck air in and out. And yeah, it could be easily vented, in my opinion. It just take a little bit of ingenuity to get it done, but I'm sure it can be done, and at a very minimal expense.
Do you all want Dennis to get with Kevin and check on that and see
Who
if?
would do that? Who did y'all use, do you know?
Well, it all comes in a kit, and of course Motorola is who puts our cars together. They might be willing to take a look at it, because those guys are pretty ingenious when it comes to figuring out how to do some things or whatnot. So I'd be more glad to contact them and see if they'd be willing to do that. But it shouldn't be that hard to ventilate the back end of that truck.
Do you all want to just authorize the judge to allow to spend what they need to if it's within a certain minimal amount to get that taken care of?
Do you have any idea of what that would be, Kevin?
Now, right off the top of my head, I don't, but I can get a figure for you before you proceed on that, to just kind of give you a cost of what it would.
Let's let Kevin look into this and let me know what the estimated cost, and I'll contact
Okay.
each of you. Would that be all right?
That's fine.
'Cause we need to do it. If it-
Yes,
you
it
know,
needs to
I
get
don't
done
want-
if that's the case.
I didn't even think about it, but he
I
was
didn't
worried
either,
about
just
it.
be
The
honest
hot,
with you,
because
yeah.
it's gotten so hot, he was worried.
Yeah, it
He's
could
gonna
be
have an issue.
easily put on top there where it can ventilate and
Okay.
suck air through. Yeah, that shouldn't be
Okay.
any problem.
We'll handle it that way, if that's all right with
That
everybody.
That's
works
fine.
perfect.
Jeff, you had
I
something?
still have a question. I take it I'm to make this contact with Mr. Wickers?
It's fine with me.
Okay.
They're suggesting none of us, and I haven't spoken with him, so
Okay.
I'd recommend that you do so.
I'll do that. All right.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I'll be very brief. The Twin Lakes Church out across 641 from Catfish Kitchen has flooded 4 or 5 times. That water going under 641, when it gets down there on Little Creek. If the court can notify the proper people, that thing needs some attention.
We went and looked at that, Russell and I did, some time ago, and I think you determined that the drainage area out in that field needed to be cleaned out. Could we just find out maybe do you know the property owner?
They have 220 members, they're going fast, they're going to build a new big church without building that building already.
Well, of course,
I mean,
we talked about the Corps of Engineers, but they didn't really give us any, it's off the right of way, it's not on any
Right.
of our property. We can't legally put any county equipment on there to help them. I know what you're talking about. This is the second or third time, David, that that's flooded.
Yeah, I'm not expecting the county to do it.
Yeah.
But if the court can notify the proper people.
Yeah.
It needs, I tried to call the governor, I haven't got to him yet.
I just, of course, the Corps of Engineers, I guess, claim jurisdiction on these creeks.
Not sure.
Anyway, we'll be glad to look into it, see if there's anything we can do. I feel for them, but it's not in our jurisdiction. Any other business?
One brief item, how's our health department? Do we have an opening day?
Not yet. I talked with Dennis Smith last week. The contract is moving along. They've removed brick. They're looking at now shoring up where it needs to be shored up. Once they get that, then the inside things, the ADA, I think will go rather quickly. But as far as giving us a time, no, they have not. Any other business? Entertain a motion.
Motion adjourned, Judge.
Have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Meeting adjourned.